Hi, everyone, and welcome to the next episode of We Built This White Lake. My name is Stephanie Ware, Executive Director with the White Lake Area Chamber of Commerce, and I'm so excited to have with me today Virginia DeMumbrum, the Library Director of the White Lake Community Library. Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we're going to go ahead and jump in because I know you guys have a lot of cool history. So first, go ahead and tell me a little bit about your role with the library, and what it is that you guys do as a business and organization.
Okay, I can do that. As you said, I'm Virginia DeMumbrum. I am the director of the White Lake Community Library, and I've been there for 25 years, which is how long that library's been in existence. But before I became the director, I was the storytime lady for 18 years there. Started there when my son was in first grade, my younger one, and did story times for years. And then when Shelley, the previous director, retired, I was selected by the board to take her place. And that was in 2019. So I had just barely gotten my feet wet as a director when COVID hit in 2020, but that's a whole nother story. My husband and I have lived in this community for 30 years now. And we raised our kids here, and now we have 2 adult sons, an amazing daughter-in-law, and 3 adorable grandchildren.
Good.
The business itself, though, it's not a business. It is a community library, public library, and so the community built it, and I can get into the history of all that in a little bit. Is there anything else you want to know about?
No, that's great.
Okay.
I love that you've been there the entire 25 years, though. That's incredible. Not a lot of people get to a milestone and have somebody that's been there since,
Well, this
day
is probably
zero.
a good time to mention that Pam Osborne, who is still the assistant director, was with the library when it was a city library. She's marked 35 years with the library now.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a big testament to you guys, too. Okay, well, so then tell us a little bit about how it started and where it began.
So when we first moved here in 1997, there was a little teeny library in City Hall. It was the garden room. It is the garden room now at City Hall. It's where people go to vote, and they have meetings in there sometimes. But that was the entire library for this community.
Wow.
And we moved here anyway. As much as I love libraries, I'm like, that's all right, it's worth it. So we moved here. That library, unbeknownst to me when we moved here, had already been defunded by the city. That happened in 96, and I didn't hear a word of it. The library was there. It was open. We used it. But really quickly after that, I found out the situation that the library had been defunded by the city because it was only being paid for by city residents and was being used by the whole community. Whitehall, Montague, all the townships, everybody was using it, and only the city residents were supporting it. So that meant there was this huge effort underway to create a library that was an independent one, a district library. And so they got started on that, and that was one of my first acts of civic involvement in this community, was I got on the committee
That's awesome.
for one of the ballot initiatives, because it took 3 different votes of the people, not to mention the votes of the townships, all the municipalities. It was a really long and hard journey that Betty Carlson is the one who actually was the director at the time, got that heartbreaking, heart-stopping news that the library was going to be closed, and said, no, it's not. She's the one who did all that and got everything going. It was such a long journey to get through, trying to get community people together. There was a huge outpouring of support, first of all. People were outraged that the library was going to be closed. So they took all of this energy and they funneled it into getting this new building built. The 3 ballot initiatives had to be, first they had to approve a district library. And they had been turned down at the county level when they asked permission to form a district. The county said no, which they were allowed to do. And they didn't have to give a reason, they just said no. Everybody knows the reason is they wanted Whitehall to become part of the county library system because there was a county-wide library system and only Hackley and White Lake were separate from that. And they wanted us absorbed into that. And Betty said, over my dead body, we're going to give up our independence. Not happening. So we ended up with this new idea that had never been done in the whole state before. We were the very first district library to form using the boundaries of a school district because the school board was willing to vote to form a district, to form a library service area is what it was called. And once the school board elected to form a library service area, the library could form its own, could use those boundaries and build its own independent library. So it was this little workaround that someone at the state told us about, little loophole.
That's amazing.
So we had 3 votes. One was to approve the district library. That passed overwhelmingly, like 500 to 200 or something like that. Then there were 2 more votes needed. One was to fund the construction of the building, and then the other one was to fund the operating costs of the library. And that happened all in 98, 99, somewhere in there. And in 2000, we opened our doors as a district library on donated land.
That's amazing. Okay, so some of that story I knew, actually a lot of it I didn't, the details of it. So what I love about that is, so you've got the 90s when people didn't have access to Kindles or ebooks. So first of all, it's like mind blowing that there was even a discussion of not having a library out there. But that people went, no, this is important. We're going to fight for it and find a way to do it. And I absolutely love that the community said, absolutely not. This is too important.
Yep.
Because now 25 years later, I mean, libraries are, even in the era of Kindles, books are still being read. People, in fact, sometimes I think the digital world of TikTok makes books even more of a bigger deal.
Possibly,
because
yes.
there's like book talk. It's a whole thing.
Yes, it is.
And
yes,
so,
there's book talk.
And so it's just cool to see, and it's cool to hear how that happened. And now it's been 25 years.
And now it's been 25 years. Yep. And yeah, we still are relevant. People have been saying for decades that libraries are going to fall away because there's no need anymore, especially now that there's the internet. But we're more relevant than ever because we provide the internet access that people need, for one thing, whether they come to our building or we send them home with a hotspot they can take home and have internet at home. So we do all of that, and we have our seed library and our library of things so people can rent yard games and power tools and all of that stuff. And we provide a gathering space, which is so badly needed, especially since COVID and the whole loneliness epidemic. And we've opened up our meeting rooms more, and now we have lots of book clubs, a couple of support groups, a couple of Bible studies, we have like a mahjong group that's meeting every week. We have a knitting club and a writer's club. So just lots of ways for people to connect.
That's awesome. I love hearing that. And we kind of talked a little bit before this too. Books are expensive. So if reading's not going to go away,
no.
So for as long as reading's around, people need to have access to a space where they can get books regardless of their income.
Exactly.
So I love that. Okay, so what are some of the biggest hurdles maybe that the libraries had to overcome?
Well, there were those big ones back in the 90s. Those were some huge hurdles
Yes.
just to maintain our existence. And then since then, really the only huge hurdle was COVID, but that was everybody's hurdle.
Yeah.
And we had to get over that just like everybody else did. But it was a challenging time for the library. It was so hard to feel like an essential service and still be shut down. We still weren't allowed to operate for, I think, 2 months, 3 months. It was a long time. And trying to keep the team together, trying to do what we could to make sure people still had internet access, working from home behind the scenes. It was really hard.
So not open at all, including like drop-offs? Like you guys couldn't, I guess maybe you didn't have the lockers yet.
We didn't have lockers.
Okay.
We were shut down. We weren't allowed to go in.
Oh, wow.
We were not allowed, just like when they shut everything down, we were not an essential service. And it was really hard to not be able to provide that for a little while. Then we did go back, but we couldn't open the doors to people, but we were allowed to be back as staff.
Okay.
And so then we could check stuff out. We just did curbside. Here you go.
That's great.
We did curbside the day before the shutdown, the official shutdown, because it's a long story, but we were open one last Saturday, and we just put it all over Facebook. Come get your stuff now. Come get it. We'll bring it out to your car. Come get it. And we did it. And then the world shut down. So
Okay, well, that's a hurdle.
it was a hurdle.
Always with hurdles, we hope there's way more victories, and it sounds like there are. So what would you say are some of the biggest victories you've seen?
Oh, victories we've seen. One of the big ones for us was getting a millage passed during COVID. Our technology needs and the age of the building were making it really hard to get by on the operating millage that was passed 20 years ago. 25 now, but it was 20 years ago at the time. And our building construction millage was over. And so we had to get out and campaign for that in order to be able to keep buying computers that people could check out and hotspots that people could borrow, and to make sure the HVAC was up to date. It needed some serious updating. And then the roof needed updating at 3 years ahead of schedule. And so we got the millage passed even during a pandemic, which I thought was pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That is really amazing. I love that. Okay. So those are some big victories. I would say your entire start was a big victory. Your entire start.
Yeah.
That
It
was
was a huge victory.
Gosh. Okay. So how would you say the library has impacted the community? And I know that's a huge question.
That's a huge question. There's so many ways and there's so many things I don't want to leave out. But I think that, like I said, we provide a gathering place. So, and our new tagline is Connect, Explore, Learn. And we provide that. We provide connections for people in lots and lots of ways. We let people explore. We have some makerspace items. We have all kinds of books on whatever you want to learn how to do. So there's learning. You can explore any topic you want. And the programming that we provide, I think, makes a big impact on people. One of my favorites is the grandmothers group. So there's just this group of women that an older woman, and not elderly by any stretch, but an older woman came in and said, I want to start a support group for women who are in the last third of their lives and need to talk about it. And so she did.
Love that.
And they get together, and it is fabulous. They have no agenda. They just talk, and they help each other through rough spots, and it is so cool.
I love that. That is so fun. That's special. I love that. Okay, so lots of community impact in every corner. So that's awesome.
Yep, from kids to old. So we got the story times and summer reading and all of those things that we do for the younger end. We have the teen hangout where a group of kids comes every Friday and they play games and use the VR headset, and yeah.
That's great. So what would you say, is there a parting message or anything that you want to make sure people know about the library or the programming or the system or anything you want people to know?
Don't forget we're there. And the parting message, I just wish everybody knew what we offer. It is so hard to tell people what we have because they're so busy and they have so many other channels to pay attention to that they can't always pay attention to ours. So people are often surprised even that we just have digital books that you can read an ebook, you can borrow an audiobook from us for free and just download it, stream it, whatever. And people don't even know that, much less the Seed Library, the Library of Things, all of the other stuff that you can get from the library. So I wish that I had a way to tell everybody about that, just send them an engraved little card that explained it all, but I can't. So.
You know, we were just talking, I was talking with a group of people who are just kind of in tourism earlier this week and said, one thing I love about our libraries is that you guys have those kits. The White Lake Library has like the activity kits that people can rent. I said, when you have families traveling and it's a rainy day or it's cold, like it's so nice to be able to go, no, you don't have to just do nothing.
Right.
But there are these resources that you can go and look into, getting a card or seeing how they interloop with where they're from, all of that. It's just so nice, like, because you guys are more than books.
We are much more than books, yes.
And your imprint is on the community and other places. You guys have...
Yeah, we have our lockers in 3 different places. We have our tables. I really like the tables. So we got a big grant during COVID. That was another little silver lining of COVID, was we got this grant for lockers and solar-powered picnic tables. And so the picnic tables, unbeknownst to me, got put on an emergency resources plan for the community as a place to go charge your phones. I saw this emergency preparedness document, and it listed our 3 locations with our tables because they're solar powered, so they will charge your phone. They've got different kinds of outlets in there, and they've even got wireless charging at the tables. And there's one here, and I do want to do a quick shout out to CatchMark because they provide the Wi-Fi for the one that's downtown at the top of the sledding hill. So we put their logo on the top of that one too. The other one's at Whitehall Township, and then there's one at the library, so people can use their laptops at the library comfortably 24/7 because the Wi-Fi is always on.
That's awesome. Yeah, I know. I've used the charging stations. Those are great, and I love seeing people out there using them.
And they do.
Yeah, they do.
My favorite was watching the guy out there with his amplifier and stuff and doing a concert with his guitar at the one at the top of the sledding hill.
That's amazing.
It was really cool.
Oh, I love that. We have such a great community.
Yes, we do.
So, Virginia, any other unique tidbits that you want anyone to know?
Yeah, there's this one really fun story that happened just recently. So a couple of years ago, I was the Grand Marshal in the parade.
Yes.
And a friend of mine, whose daughter happened to be our babysitter when my kids were little, is someone who works with an author and gives her suggestions and helps her with her manuscripts. And she said to her author friend, "You have got to do a story where the librarian in your cozy mystery is the Grand Marshal in the parade, and from up on her perch on the float, she sees something that helps solve the murder." And the author did.
Gosh.
So the book has come out, and it's called Dead Silence, A Village Library Mystery by Elizabeth Spann Craig. And it is based on, not based on me, obviously, but it's based on a librarian as the Grand Marshal because of me and my friend Becky.
I love that. You can hold it up if you want. Yeah, there you go. There it is. Oh, that's awesome. Okay, I want to read that. So before this recording goes live, I have to make sure I go check it out at the library.
You can have this copy. I have 2.
That's a really cool story. Thank you for sharing that.
Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for sharing so much about just the unique history that you guys have, because it is very unique, how you had to start really from that bottom. So I love that. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you. We will see you all next time.